I'm going to preview the 1 seed North Carolina versus the 4 seed Alabama men's basketball game, and will be played in Los Angeles, California at the Crypto.com arena. And North Carolina is 29-7 overall, 17-3 in the ACC, while Alabama is 23-11 overall, 13-5 in the SEC. So I'm gonna go over stats in terms of like players and height and all this, and for both teams, and I'll give some keys on both sides just to make it simple. So the best player in terms of points per game for North Carolina is R.J. Davis. 21.3 points per game, 3.6 rebounds per game, 3.4 assists per game, 1.2 steals per game, 0.2 blocks per game, 1.8 turnovers per game, 1 fouls per game, 1.5 turnovers per game, 41.1% from the 3-point line on 275 attempts, 87.2% on free throws on 164 attempts. And I apologize if I'm looking down some because I cannot memorize all this stuff in terms of stats here. So that's obviously one player to keep an eye on. Armando Bacot is the next guy. And 14.4 points per game, 10.2 rebounds per game, 1.6 assists per game, 1.5 blocks per game, 0.6 steals per game, 2.7 fouls per game, 1.6 turnovers per game, 40% on threes, but that's on 10 attempts, 78.1% on free throws, 183 attempts. And there's Harrison Ingram, 12.2 points per game, 8.8 rebounds per game, 2.1 assists per game, 1.4 steals per game, 1.9 fouls per game, 1.4 turnovers per game, 38.7% on threes on 163 attempts, 61.2% on free throws on 98 attempts. And I apologize if I'm not mentioning anything less than 0.6 now, just to help speed it up a little bit. And I'm not mentioning the heights and the weights either, or the classification. And there's Cormac Ryan, 11.3 points per game, 2.8 rebounds per game. On the assists, it's like 2 assists or more. I'm going to really go talk about that, honestly. 0.7 steals per game, 2.4 fouls per game, 1.2 turnovers per game, 34.3% on threes on 204 attempts, 87.1% on free throws on 93 attempts. And there's Elliot Cadio, 7.3 points per game, 2.2 rebounds per game, 4.1 assists per game, 0.8 steals per game, 2.3 fouls per game, 1.8 turnovers per game, 16.7% on threes on 48 attempts. He's not a three-point shooter, as you can tell. 64.8% on free throws on 91 attempts. And there's Seth Trimble, which this is. And he's played in 34 games this year, 5.1 points per game, 2.2 rebounds per game, 1.2 fouls per game, 0.6 turns per game, 37.9% on threes on 29 attempts, 65.6% on free throws on 64 attempts. And there's Jalen Withers. I'm only going to go over the guys that has mostly played this year, by the way. 4.2 points per game, 3.6 rebounds per game, 1.4 fouls per game, 0.7 turnovers per game, 21.1% on threes on 19 attempts, 78% on free throws on 59 attempts. And there's Jalen Washington. 4 points per game, 2.6 rebounds per game, 0.6 blocks per game, 1.4 fouls per game, 53.3% on threes on 15 attempts, 64.3% on free throws on 42 attempts. So that's. And there's Paxton Wojcik, Wojcik. I apologize if I butchered that. 1.5 points per game, 0.8 fouls per game, 20.7% on threes on 29 attempts, 70.6% on free throws on 17 attempts. And that's pretty much all the guys that normally play in the game for North Carolina in all this. But I'm going to double check that real fast. Yeah, that's pretty much all the guys for North Carolina that play. So they have a good, deep in terms of the number of players that play. Now, Alabama side of things. I know for a fact that right cell is probable with a head injury, and Cosby is out for indefinitely with the foot. So I'm just now I'm gonna go ahead and mention right cell just in case he does play. I mean, okay, Mark Sears is obviously their leading scorer, 21.5 points per game. Obviously, 4.2 rebounds per game. Okay, 4.2 assists per game, 1.7 blocks steals per game, 2.5 turnovers per game, 85.8% on free throws on 225 attempts, 43.5% on threes on 191 attempts. There's Aaron Estrada, 13.3 points per game, 5.4 rebounds per game, 4.7 assists per game, 1.7 steals per game. I didn't mention the fouls per game for Mark Sears. That's why I go to the individual player actually. Okay, 1.9 fouls per game for Mark Sears and Aaron Estrada. .1 fouls per game. Now Grant Nelson, 11.4 points per game, 5.4 rebounds per game, 1.5 blocks per game, 0.6 steals per game, 3.1 fouls per game, 1.3 turnovers per game, 26.5% on threes on 102 attempts, 81.3% on free throws on 128 attempts. And there's Rylan Griffin, 11 points per game, 3.4 rebounds per game. .1 fouls per game, 1.5 turnovers per game, 37.6% on threes on 170 attempts, 83.8% on free throws on 74 attempts. And Latrell Wrightsell Jr., 9 points per game, 3 rebounds per game. I'm only mentioning this in case he does play. It's probable. 1.1 steals per game, 2 fouls per game, 0.6 turnovers per game, 44.3% on 3. He's on 49 attempts, 100% on free throws on 27 attempts. And there's Nick Pringle, 6.8 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, 0.7 blocks per game, 2.6 fouls per game, 1 turnover per game, 53.8% on free throws on 93 attempts. And there's Sam Waters, 5.7 points per game, 2.5 rebounds per game, 1.5 fouls per game, 40% on threes on 95 attempts, 82.5% on free throws on 40 attempts. Jaron Stevenson, 5.2 points per game, 2.6 rebounds per game, 1 turnover per game, 1.7 fouls per game, 29.7% on threes on 91 attempts, 70.5% on free throws on 44 attempts. Like I said, Cosby's out, but Mohammed Wag, or WAUGA, WAGUE. I apologize if I butchered that. 3.3 points per game, 50% on threes, but that's on 2 attempts. 25% on free throws, 30 on 36 attempts. 0.6 steals per game, 2.2 fouls per game, 0.7 turnovers per game. And the last player I'm going to mention is Muhammad Mouhamed. I apologize if I butchered that. Diabate, Dioubate. I apologize if I butchered that name too. 3.2 points per game, 2.5 rebounds per game, 1.1 fouls per game, 9.1 on threes on 11 attempts, 47.1% on free throws on 51 attempts. So you don't know about the officiating in this game, obviously. Well, it's going to be questionable or not. You gotta just play through it and you gotta make adjustments on the fly for both teams, not just from first half to second half, but possession by possession. You gotta keep your composure. You don't want to get like technical fouls or flagrant fouls. That's another deal you got not do. You gotta take care of the ball while forcing turnovers. You want to get second chance points while limiting those second chance points. You gotta rebound the ball while not allowing a lot of rebounds, especially to get to those second chance points. You got to get some transition points while limiting those. You got to get some points out turnovers while limiting those. You got to get on your best contain the shooters, contain the slashers for both of these teams. On defense, you got to try to hustle both these teams here. Your opponent here. You don't want to get illegal screens or anything like that. If you're going to have a turnover, make sure it's a dead ball, but even then, you don't want to turn the ball over in general. That's the thing. You got to have good shot selection on offense, and you got to try to get some points in the paint while limiting those on defense, and you got to get to the rim and just to get to the free throw line. And you don't want on defense, you don't want the opposing team to get to the free throw line so much. And when you get to the free throw line on offense, you got to make them count. So that's practically all the keys right there to a game. And I know that sounds bland, especially when you get the opposing team in foul trouble, especially the better guys in these type of games. And you got to withstand the runs and try to climb back into games. And if you have a lead, protect it. So anyways, if you like this content, hit the like and subscribe button. See you guys later on the road to 600 subscribers. Of course, ultimate goal is 1,000 more. So we might not have this. Of course, like the video, comment video really helps YouTube algorithms so more people can see it. Sharing the video does help as well, so more people can watch. And if you're watching and not subscribed, hit subscribe button. It's free the notification bell as well. And this is as of right now. North Carolina is favored by 4.5. So I expect this to be a good game, but we'll see.